Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the PMS Product UI training. This is a new webinar where we will be trying to give you a bit of information on how the data can be submitted through the Product UI. We can start, as always, with some housekeeping notes. So, as you know, this session is going to be recorded. We will make it available through the EMA corporate website and also in our YouTube channel. As always, we are using a Slido, so you can ask your questions. You can upvote the different questions. The interaction via Slido is always voluntary. You may opt to be anonymous, but if you choose to use this tool, please make sure that you consent to the processing of your personal data as it is explained in the EMA data privacy statement for Slido. Here you have the QR code that you can use to join to the session of Slido. You also have the hashtag product UI bulk edit. So either way you can connect, you can send your questions. It is very important if you can please upvote the different questions that are already or that will be in the system, so we don't repeat the questions. At the end of the session, we have some time to go through those questions, and we will be replying to the most voted questions that we are going to receive. A bit of the the recording is going to be available, as well as the presentation at the end of the webinar. And the aim of this webinar is to provide you a bit of training on how to use the product UI functionalities. So how to go and navigate through the portal, how important it is for you to provide the data enrichment, and also to collect some feedback and clarify some questions that you might have about the enrichment process and the product UI functionalities. Very quickly, the agenda that we have is these 5 minutes for the welcome. I'm going to give you a bit of background context of how the data flow is happening between XCBMPD, PMS, the product UI, and the different systems. Then Veronica will go through the access management, so which are the roles that we have in the product UI, how to request those roles, and then she will also go to the main part of this webinar, which is the enrichment of PMS and the demo on the system itself. At the end of the webinar, I will come back and I will give you a bit of information on how to use the BI reports that we have in the user interface, and also a brief update on the known issues that we have. Then by the end, we will close with the Q&A and some next steps, as always. So we can start with a bit of background context. So I wanted to give you a bit of information on how this product data is flowing through different systems. And I think you have already seen this diagram a couple of times. So you know that EMA users are updating the data in SciAmed, while the marketing authorization holders are updating the data in XCBMPD. Once we are receiving the data either in SciAmed or in XCBMPD, this data goes directly to the PMS API. This data flow, it's happening almost on real time, is what we call the deltas, and this is already explained in different chapters in the implementation guide. So the deltas to PMS API are processed as they come. There is a queue here where we are just processing the different messages as they come. These updates, as I said, are almost happening in real time, but it doesn't just depend on the amount of the messages and how this queue, how big this queue is. But in principle, it shouldn't take more than 2 hours to process those messages. So from SciAmed and from XCBMPD to the PMS API. Now, from this PMS API, the data is flowing into Iris. And in order for this to happen, Iris should run what we call the integration routine between the PMS API and Iris. Right now, this integration is happening around every 8 hours, but we are already planning to improve this integration, and the idea is to run this integration almost in real time. as you also know from Iris, then the data that you can see in the PLM portal is consumed from Iris. So as soon as the data has been updated in Iris, you can see it in the PLM portal. So just for you to understand, so whenever there is something updated in SciMed or in XCMPD, it first has to go to the PMS API, where the updates is almost real time. Let's say it can take a couple of hours maximum, but then for you to see these updates on the PLM portal, first we need the data in Iris, and this might take up to a day, let's say 8 hours. And as I said, we are working to improve this performance to make it almost a real time. So this is for you to understand that updates that you do in XCMPD might not be shown in the PLM portal immediately, and it triggers some time. So whenever we have the data in the PLM portal, then you can consume it by the different systems. So for example, the web-based EAF, or also in the product UI. In the product UI, you can use this data, for example, those products or those packages for your enrichment. As soon as you submit your enrichment through the product UI, this data will go through to the PMS API. The PMS API is updated as soon as the status is completed in the change request in the product UI. So you submit your enrichment and you will see the status completed. That means that the PMS API has been updated. Then the normal flow, it has to go to Iris, to the PLM portal, so you can see it in the product UI, and this might take some time. We also have now opened the PMS API, so marketing authorization holders can submit directly the data to the PMS API. As soon as you receive the successful message that your submission has been processed, that means that the PMS API has been updated. And then again, it has to go to Iris, to the PLM portal, so you can see it in the product UI or in the web-based EAF. Just as a final comment, you know that most of the consuming systems are consuming data from Iris. So, for example, we have ESMP, we have the RPM, etc., are consuming the data from Iris, but is data that is coming from the PMS API. So with this diagram and with these timelines, we wanted to give you a bit of information on how the data is flowing, why sometimes are you taking some time to see the different updates in the product UI when you submit something to XCMPD, etc. So as a summary, updates that are coming from SciMed and from XCMPD are reflected in PMS, in the PMS API, almost in real time. From the PMS API to the product UI, it might take up to 8 hours. We are improving this performance, and we want to bring it to almost real time. About these 3 points, we will go through them in the webinar, but you know that the enrichment process for the moment only applies to manufacturers, the MBOs, and the data carrier identifier, as well as the structured pack size data for non-CAPs. So CAPs are out of the scope of the enrichment. The deadline for the enrichment of products that are linked to the Union List of Critical Medicines has been extended now to June 2026. Before it was December this year. Now you have 6 more months. And as always, because this is a question that we receive a lot, you must submit your packages to XCMPD. So then with the flow that we have seen before, it will go to the PMS API, to the product UI, and in the product UI, then you can include the structured data for these pack sizes. But the packages as such should follow the data flow that we have seen before. So this is a bit of the background, how the data is flowing, how this enrichment is working. And with this, I give now the floor to Veronica so she can guide you through the user access management. I don't know, Veronica, if you want me to keep sharing or...
I can share the presentation. Thank you, Marcus.
Okay.
So I have quite a lot of slides to share. Just let me know if you can see. So, colleagues, good morning, everybody. Today, I'll give you an update indeed on what's the which is the way to access POI. Most of you might already be expert because you already have an access. I will just share with you a few updates and information on these aspects because we have a couple of news to share. So POI access management, how does it work? Again, you might be very familiar. We just elaborated a bit more which are the roles. The very first important thing is that we have updated a bunch of documentation related to the registration process. This is chapter 1, which was updated on September, so last month. Then also POI registration guide with the new role that I will announce today, and also the SPOR onboarding of SPOR user role, which indeed reports aligned information on the new role for industry. First of all, the first role that needs to be requested in case you want to access PMS in general, whether it's POI or API, is always the administrative role. In this case, we have two different types of roles based on the stakeholders. In this case, industry have IRIS PLM industry administrative role, while NCAs in a different color, they have the same with an NCA wording inside. In terms of industry roles, once you have received or any of your colleagues from your organization as an industry admin role, this person can receive or can nominate even themselves as a UI users. In this case, we have differentiated because with the go live of the edit functionality started and launched in January this year, we had to split the functionality based on the need of industry. So the current role that is live since the go live of POI read-only pages in May 2024 are the first two, POI industry user and POI industry qualified user. These are equivalent to level 2B and 2A. I would encourage you to read the chapter 5 and Annex A to chapter 5 to understand which are the differences. In summary, industry has a limited access to data, while the qualified user role has a full access to data, including also the commercially sensitive data. So anything like manufacturers, information related to these activities are accessible with this role. Industry regular user, they can only access a very limited set of data. These roles are the ones that everybody, if you have already access to POI, has requested and has been granted. This role can give you the possibility to both read and also edit the data. If some of you are already submitting product information via POI, it means that you're doing with any of these two roles. What is coming soon, and we actually released in July, but then we have faced technical issues with the synchronization of these roles and issues with the chapter 5 principles, is the read-only role. This role is called POI Industry Read User. Again, equivalent to level 2B, limited data sets. You can only read the information. You cannot update anything. POI Industry Qualified Read User role is exactly the same functionality, but with the full access of data. Again, you can see anything in your POI portal based on your organization, but you cannot edit anything. Usually, these roles are mostly for people that definitely are just involved in the, mapping, checking, but definitely no submission of product information. These are coming soon. Just a little update. We have run the external internal testing, and this was positive. Now we are doing a little external testing with one of the testers for the POI, and then we hope by end of October maximum we can release it in production again, and hopefully with all the issues fixed. For regulators instead, we have the read-only functionality, which is the POI Competent Authority User role, which is the current role that we have released since the go-live in 24. Level 3, which is the maximum level of accessibility of data for an authority, same level of the agency. I highlighted the read or the edit in these both tables because now with the go lives of the edit, with the bulk, with the single release, we need to clarify what each single stakeholder can do and cannot do. So industry can read and edit data, or can only read data, while NCAs and in general authority, including EMA, can only read data. What is inactive for the authority is indeed the function, the role that covers also the editing. This is because indeed we haven't agreed yet on the full target operating model. This will be touched on later. Then, administrative roles. For those who are not familiar, colleagues, this is one of the most important roles. As I was mentioning, you can access, you cannot read information. This is the very first step that you need to have. We always recommend that within your organization, you have at least 2 administrative users. And this is because we face cases where one user left or suddenly had to leave, and there was only one administrative user role, and by policy and GDPR, we're not allowed to share personal data, names or surname, or emails of the person who have these administrative users. So please make sure always that you know who is your administrator and you have more than one. This is very important. With this role, you don't have read access straight away. These are the roles that grants then the read access or the editing accesses. So these are the people who receive your request via IAM and are responsible to approve any subsequent request. It's very important that the first request for your organization as administrative user role is submitted on time, because this is approved by the agency for security reasons. We are always the first approving the first administrative user role. After that, any subsequent request, even as admin role, it can be approved by the very first being granted by the agencies. Again, it's important that you consider that when you request a role, this role is assigned based on organization ID. So people having admin role can still have multiple roles. That's absolutely fine. They can nominate themselves as a regular user or as a qualified user role, depending on the level of information that they want to access. What is very important is that they don't mix up the roles. So if they request a user only, they don't need to request the qualified user role, because otherwise the privileges will overlap and the qualified user role will prevail always. Of course, because they are administrative users, by the time they submit the request in IAM, the EMA account management system, by default, the request is automatically approved. They don't need to be approved by anybody else because they are the admin. So they are basically the one having the highest power. Then, once you have nominated and you know who is your administrative user role for your organization, you can decide whether you want to read and edit or only read. In this case, as I mentioned before, since the go live in May 24, we have released 2 types of roles. One is regular user and another one is the qualified regular user. Both of them will give you the possibility to read, as usual, data based on Chapter 5, because there are limitations, as mentioned before, but also edit information. You can now edit with this role with a single update or even with the bulk update. You don't have, you just need to decide which kind of functionality you want to update your data. Again, the access is granted based on organization, is based on multi-factor authentications, and then it's important that you request your role and you don't mix them up within your same organization. If you want to be a regular user for organization A and then qualified user for organization B, that's totally fine. But don't request double role for the same organization, because again, the qualified user role privileges will prevail, because you will have, you could see the whole data with no limitation, even confidential information. Then, as I mentioned before, NCA do not have access yet to in IAM to request the qualified user role. All they can request is just the read-only data, which is the regular user. As I mentioned before, please be careful when you have a bunch of roles being PUI, because PUI is hosted in the same application as EAF web form. So when you have for the same organization access to the portal in PLM for two different applications, whether EAF or PUI, you need to be careful that you need to consider when requesting access, which role do I have first? So if I have already an EF contributor role, I can only request the PUI user role. But if I have the coordinator or manager EAF role, this is the highest level, is equivalent to the PUI qualified user role, full access, even commercially sensitive data. So request this one. Please don't mix them up, because as I mentioned, you will have access to products, data, and information which are overlapping across the roles. For the moment, you have the freedom in IAM to request it. Just pay attention to this role, but in future we would like to mitigate this risk, because we notice many users still have this mix of role. Again, you can have a role for different organizations. That's not a problem. Just make sure you don't mix them up. Now, what is coming next is the read-only user. This is just a role that gives access to the industry only for reading data. It can be assigned to anyone from within your organization, but is recommended to be assigned once we will release in production, just to those people who you know are not involved in the data submission in production environment. Again, you can request it in IAM. Is not yet available, but will be available, we hope, by the end of October. Is requested at organization level, and then also this one is approved at by the industry administrative role user. You can have, if you have the same organization, again, don't mix them up. Same information applies to this role. If you have a contributor, just remember to request the read user role. Oh, sorry, I moved one slide back. And if you have coordinator manager, again, qualified read user role should be requested. It makes no sense to request for the same organization the read access and then the PUI regular user role. It makes totally no sense. So please be careful with that. Now, how does it work, the access to PUI? So very simplistically, if you access PUI AOAG chapter 1, you see the same diagram published here. In this case, there are two steps. First of all, you need to make sure that you have the organization, so the org ID is available and correctly registered in your OMS database. Then you need to request, if it's not, of course, you request it. This is the usual procedure foreseen by OMS. After that, you need to make sure that you have you are registered to EMA account management portal. You have an account active, and of course, if not, you do it. If it's is already activated, then you just log in. And in the case, you can search in the area of manage access the respective role. If you are the person who will be in charge of to be the administrator user for that organization, you can request a role. If it's the first one, it will be approved by the agency. You need to submit a letter. The agency will validate it, make sure that everything is correct, and grant you the access. If you are the second or the third or the fourth administrator, you will just submit your request in IAM, and the first administrator of your organization or any other in synchronization will receive this. And first come, first serve. The first who see the request in the ROM portal will be the first approving your request. Now, if after that you decide then to be to have access to PUI, so imagine you have been nominated as an administrative or you're already, you can then request the PUI access. Regular user role, qualified user role. For the moment, only these two are available for read and edit. In future, also the read only will be available. You submit the request in IAM, and your request will be approved by your administrator, one of yours, because you may have one or more than one. Once this is approved, you receive the notification and you can start accessing the PUI portal. Very simple. Takeaways. It's very important that you have access, have an account set up in your EMA IAM portal, EMA account management portal. Then you request the access based on the org ID, therefore at the organization level. You read also the Chapter 5 and Annex A, which reports basic principle for the level of accessibility of information, even at data element level. So every role has their own rules. Then read and edit user, indeed, as I mentioned, can now have access to edit information either singularly or in bulk. It's definitely based on what you need and how many products you have to update. And of course, the read-only users will also be available. I mentioned Q4 because I'm waiting for the positive UAT to be run externally. We're setting now the accounts, so I really hope by the end of October we can release it finally fully functional. And this is the access management. Now, of course, core part of this webinar, we want to enrich PMS. You want to enrich it in bulk, so therefore we are going to show you in a moment how this works. So before that, just let me give you a little bit of the background and the story of the delivered capacity, just to remind ourselves where we are today and why. So when we went live, it was May 2024. The first capability that we could allow after the data migration, as Marcus explained before, was the read-only capability. So this was the first release, and since then, registered users, can now access products data in an ISO DMP compatible format, and not only registered data, also public, general public with no previous requested role can access a very limited of information for this benefit of the patients and having an understanding on which kind of information is structured. Then January this year, we finally went live with the first, actually it's the second release, but for us it's the first release for the editing, in the editing scope. In this case, since now 10 months, industry can submit data as authorized in a structured way in PMS, and the data that can be submitted for the moment are limited. They are pack size, structure information, but also manufacturer business operation data, mostly for the shortage of reporting. So for supporting the ESMP submission and the timelines that we announced so far. But of course, the journey of PMS team doesn't end here. It goes way beyond. This is just the beginning. It's also a kind of an opportunity for everybody, including the agency, to get familiarized with the functionality and the editing submission. But definitely, the scope for PMS, for us, me and Marcus, is to open the full right capabilities across the full data model, and then implement it within the target operating model. Then, what is coming now? Actually came already. 22nd of September this year, we went live after an intense summer of testing. And here I would really, really like to thank you very much, the companies. I hope they are connected here. The EMA developers, our technical teams, and all the testers from industry side, because they did a brilliant job. And we did a very intense exercise, very well coordinated, I would say. So thank you very much, and a big applause goes to you. We went live with the bulk update functionality. We released a bunch of communication for those who are not or did not have the chance, to stay updated with us, because summertime is always, reduced capacity and availability. There is plenty of communication, PLM portal news, PLM newsletter, and also on the EMA website. In this case, I would very much encourage you and recommend you to register to the newsletter, because that's the faster way to get access to the most important updates from PMS and in general from the PLM, from the PLM portal and projects related to that. Then, as usual, we always provide support, even technical or business related. We always host monthly sessions where you can come and ask questions. We try to do our best, of course, and share the most updated information. What is very important that I notice is I hear the public saying that it's very hard to follow and read all the documentation, stay up to date. So, colleagues, if you want to save your time, the monthly Q&A is the best way to stay updated, because this is a live project. It's not ended, as I was saying. And of course, things move fastly and dynamically. So if you join the Q&A or you keep an eye on the Q&A, on the FAQ document in PMS, on the PLM portal, this is the best way to get updated all the time. I recognize the challenge. So why, now that we have released the bulk functionality, even before, if you had the chance to join the PMS Info Day back to May 20, this year, 25, we have received a bunch of comments from industry, mostly the biggest trade association, but even the general, the small and medium enterprises, asking the agency to consider extending the timelines for the submission of structured product data into PMS for the scope of supporting the shortage reporting. After, I must say, a quite intense discussion and debate internally, but it's even with the industries and our SMEs, PMS, we have considered this acceptable. So what makes us as an agency agreeing and considering to extend these deadlines? So basically, we hear external stakeholders very much, and always we take them very seriously. We recognize that there is a lot of work from your side, even in preparing, submitting data, just even starting from the pack size submission in XCV-MPD, and then preparing in an ISO/DMP compatible format all your data that you might have not yet prepared in your RIP system or in general in your as part of your documentation. So we understand that the single update that was released in January 25 might not be for those companies who have a big and large portfolio, the best case, the best functionality, to submit a large volume of information all in one submission. So we, unfortunately, we couldn't release the bulk update before that September. So we have also recognized that the bulk update will facilitate much your life. Similarly, with the use of PMS API, this really depends on your internal organization. And we also know that industry in general may require from 6 to 9 months indeed to set up, adjust, and even contact your vendors and developers to prepare the data, your system to connect with the PMS API in addition to the use of the PUI. So we have agreed that now the timelines for the submission of the structured manufacturer data in structured pack size for those product-only colleagues that are impacted by the ULCM list, which has not changed so far since last year, has been extended to June 2026. So if you remember, the deadline was this December 25, we have extended now to June 2026. While for what concerns the submission of the pack size for the non-central authorized product again, but for the entire portfolio, so not the ULCM list, all the rest of the portfolio that you have using indeed XCV-MPD and even PMS system, this has been extended to June 2027. So these are the most important updates. In the next slide, I will share you also a graph that maybe you can take a screenshot, but anyway, we will be publishing soon this presentation. What is very important is that the agency has agreed to extend this timeline, but we also now, the action is on you, colleagues. You need to prepare and submit your data because we really need this information, and the Commission is also looking for that. So this is you can take a screenshot if you want, otherwise you can wait for this to be published. This is a summary of our PMS roadmap. As you can see, what we have been updated in blue for industry and in green for NCAs, the extension of the submission, indeed, end of June of 2026 for the submission of MBO data for ULCM products only, and then for the submission of pack size for the rest of the portfolio into PMS and XVMPD is updated to end June 2027. What doesn't change is the deadline for the submission of the structured data for the rest of the portfolio PUI or API. This remains December 2026. While for NCAs, if we have anyone connected, we have extended colleagues because we're still missing few member states asking for the support on the data mapping. We have extended this exercise for until the end of 2026 because we have a lot of NCAs for the moment, but we still mix 6. So we need to, and we have approved the extension of this exercise. Last but not least, colleagues, apart from the deadline which have been extended, what is also important that I would like to share with you is that in 2026, one of the biggest achievements we want to release is the public API. So the public API at the moment indeed is under development. We are refining the implementation internally, and our plan will be to go live at the beginning of Q2. We would like to aim at the end of Q1, honestly, but let's see how the external UAT that we will be launching will go. And so this is one of the most important news that we would like to share. This is extremely important for not only for the public, but also for the WHO, for those companies who are working a lot to under the company organizations, UMC, APSALA, to develop the algorithm for the calculation of PHPAD. There are many projects behind, but also last but not least, the potential that PMS can have for supporting the European health data space. We need to release this as soon as possible to make sure the e-prescription e-dispensation can also be supported by us. Then throughout the 2026, the next in line after the PMS API, actually we will be working in parallel, but we know that it takes more than the release of the API, is the upgrade to R5 version of the PMS API read. This will take the whole year. You see this located in Q3, Q4, but we can anticipate to you it will take the full 2026 to achieve that. So this is the update. Now, going to the most important part for today, Eva. Which kind of elements can you reach, colleagues? This is a famous diagram for explaining to you the data model, how this look like. And the important thing is that we have enabled a bunch of elements, as you can see, are the ones in the purple box. I hope it's visible. Is the gray manufacturer's data and contains manufacturer, the business operation from the RMS list, the start and date, confidential indicator, authorization reference, effective date, and the authority who approves the bunch of operations. At the same, we have the pack size data, unit of presentation, and apology because I forgot entirely the data carrier identifier is missing. I will update the slide so you can also have a look to that. What do you need to do? First of all, so you want to submit your product's information. Okay, first of all, as Marcos mentioned, make sure you have submitted in XVMPD the product entity at package level. Here you have a link with instructions directing you to the training that Marcos gave, I think, more than 1 year ago, and it's still valid based on the product, based on the type of situation you have. Then, once you have submitted your data, make sure you have updated you have the package description included in XVMPD. After that, make sure you have access to EMA and register to PUI via IAM portal. You request the access, refer to the previous slides that I shared, that's the flow. And then access ULCM list and PUI. Some companies have been very great. They already completed the submission on any product in ULCM list, so you don't need to worry about that. You can move directly to the full portfolio, but some of the companies still need to submit this data. So here is the link. The ULCM list has not changed since, I think it was December 24, last version, and as far as we know, is not going to change. If it will change, we will definitely communicate, by the way. Access also the PUI portal once you have the access, because there is dynamic report which is accessible only under registration, and it's called All ATC Codes Report. In this way, you can easily identify by entering the ATC codes impacted, which are the products that might be impacted on your portfolio. So in this way, you simplify your life. Once, assuming that you have prepared also in advance your data in a structured way, you can start with the enrichment of the information. You can choose a single update if you have few products. You can choose the bulk updates. Just refer to the, if you want to have a step-by-step guide in addition to this webinar and the demo, you can even access the PUI navigation guide, rewatch today's demo, anything that can help you, or if you're in doubt, you can request clarification either at the monthly meetings or directly in ServiceNow. By the way, the navigation guide has been updated, so you can find the latest information supporting also the submission of the bulk updates. This is very important. Then, once you submit the data, take into consideration that once the data are submitted, the flow that Marcos was displaying before. In this case, I entered 1 calendar day, but Marcos was indeed very precise and explained to you that based on the synchronization routine, it usually takes 1 calendar day. We try to improve, for the moment, the synchronization from PMS API to Iris in PUI is 8 hours, but it might take the full day. So it depends. If you don't see the products the day after, you can notify us and we can investigate on what's the issue. Always, it's not enough that you submit the data once and for all. No, you need to maintain the product updated, because this is now part of the product life cycle. So if you change by a variation the manufacturer's information or the pack size, or you have a new data card identifier, please consider always that the same submission principle from XMPD applies to PMS. In this case, exceptionally, as we announced, I think at the 1.5 years ago, the PMS Info Day, the first version, we accept data submitted even on a monthly basis, as long as these are kept up to date. If you have any doubt, go to data quality. You can go to the PMS FAQ document. The latest version updated is from June, but Marcos and I are updated already because we have fixed some issues. So we need to give you an updated status on these data quality issues. And that's, I think, all. Yeah, okay, this is the general notification system. If you have any problem, you can either request a question or report an incident. Please be very conscious when you submit the ticket. I keep seeing a question which are actually tickets, incidents. Make sure if you have a problem and data quality issue, whatever, is not a question, is an incident. In this case, we have a different path and a different priority to be assigned to that. In any case, we do our best to consider the questions when it's wrongly submitted as an incident. I cannot change in the backend, we cannot change the type, but it might create a bit of confusion in the timelines for the SLAs. These are the services that you can select. If you're accessing PUI, of course, you have product data, PUI access, functionality is a general issue, question, let me know. But if you are, you have property in PMS in general, that you can select SPOR and PMS. There is also inquiry PMS. In this case, I will enter it because I notice it's missing. Once you submit it, it goes to the first line, which is a very high level to make the triage. It goes to second line to confirm whether it's a technical issue or a business issue. And then if it's I can tell you from experience, is always landed to data stewards. The third level of support is basically the PMS team, technical developers and business related team, who investigate on the question, take the relevant actions. So most of the time, the incidents, because of the many interconnection that Marcus was mentioning, so XMPD, PMS API, IRIS, etc., most of the time it takes longer than expected because we need to gather all the feedback and all the action needs to be done not only at PMS level but also at different system levels. So that's the reason why it takes a bit. Now, live demonstration. Before starting, I wanted to let you know that any data that you see are definitely dummy data. They are invented. They are not reflecting the reality of the production information. What is also important to let you know is that I am demoing in UAT environment, which is not accessible from your side, but from the agency side is the safest place where to do the demo and avoid indeed the production use. Then, one slide and then I'll start. Change request, change status. So if you're familiar with the updates, with a single update since January, you might have noticed that once you start submitting updates to your system, you have a bunch, you need to create a change page basically, where you start and you select the products. I will show you how it works. And then you apply the changes. So there are different and several statuses that we have created for the moment. I think we remain like this. We're not planning to add any more. But once you start editing a product, the first status that you will see is always the draft. This is the starting point. It means that you have selected the product, you gave the name, the friendly name, the description, and then after that, the page is starting asking you whether you want to modify which product, if it's a single, one product, or maybe a little bit more, but if it's a bulk, it depends to which product you want to start with, and then clone the functionality. Then once you edit the product, you even access the product, they start including, I don't know, the manufacturer information. The system by default changes the status to modified. Of course, it's very important that you save the information. But if you go to your workspace area, I will demo everything. All I'm saying, I will demo to you in a second. It goes to modified. And after modified, you can, if you're ready, you validate the changes, you click on finalization, and you submit it. If it's correctly updated and you're fine and happy with this change, you click and the change status becomes submitted. It means that you have submitted your change and then the system is processing your changes. Then the first, so the successful, upon the successful completion of the processing of your changes, the status will change to completed. It means that the system has taken your changes. This has been totally updated, and the system has also integrated the updates. If there is any if for any reason, for instance, the simplest case scenario is when you the variation, the version of the products is not the latest updated, and you click anyway to submit it, you can receive the integration failure. In this case, it means that the validation criteria didn't meet. It moved to integration failure. It will tell you why and what's the reason. And in this case, you can either clone, I will demo so why, or you can just cancel, because it will move to cancel if you don't want to proceed. If it moves to cancel, it means that you are deactivating this change that you wanted to propose for submission, and then you can start from scratch. Partially completed is a kind of medium status in between integration failed and completed. That's saying Dear user, you have submitted successfully changes for one product, but for other two products, it didn't pass. It wasn't integrated, it wasn't processed. The system will tell you which, what, and why. And you can decide either to clone the change request to the change and to restart it, the updates, or to cancel it with the deactivation. The deactivation button is also the same that triggers the cancel status after the modified. If you made it a mistake and you created the change by mistake, then you can still say, okay, let me cancel it, I'll restart again, fine. So these are the status, and you can see all of these statuses in your workspace area upon registration. So I am in UAT environment, I am already registered, and now I want to do a bunch of demo. So first of all, colleagues, as I said, PMS guide here, you can find every updated information here. Now, for the sake of time, let's go to my own product. Of course, I am a data steward here. So I actually have access to any organization information, any products from any order. But let's imagine I am from Chiesi Farmaceutici. In this case, I want to update my products. So first of all, colleagues, you might have noticed that we have updated a bit the whole layout. This is the latest layout that we have released. There are still few little upgrades that we need to do, like the color and so on, but this is the latest one. What we have been improving is that the way of searching products, for instance, in this case, in some fields, can allow the use of the multiple values. So in this case, let's imagine I want to look for chewable table, but then okay, let me see also the tablets, the general tablets, coated tablets, for instance. In this case, I can add as many as I want. In this case. Same for the statuses. These are by default the same status. If you don't see the product, it's because by default you have this. So the recommendation is to remove them all and look for the product that might be invalid. Even for the authorization country, maybe you have an MRP procedure product, so you want to see products from authorized in different countries. This is also something that you can improve. You can select in a multiple way, and then these are always the same information. In this case, as I said, I am a data steward, but I'm image impersonating, say, Chiesi Farmaceutici. And I want to look for, I want to update my products who are authorized in Italy. So fine, I go and search, I run the searching, the system loads. It depends, colleagues, sometimes you might have noticed that it takes ages. It means that the searching criteria was not refined. So you're just running on an open search and it takes a lot. If you can refine the searching criteria, my suggestion is always to do it because it's much faster. So in this case, I have all valid product, fantastic, and you will see this name because we are in test environment. So these are not production data. In this case, you click. For the moment, if I was in January, I could only select one or few more and update manually one by one. But now I want to show you how to bulk and clone the information straight away. So you can even select 100, 500 or 600. It depends what's your portfolio. Then you click on edit and the system automatically creates the change request. Now, to avoid, because I see we are in UAT and sometimes it drives me crazy with the times that I don't want to waste, especially from your side, I already created an initial change request. This is my workspace area, as I was mentioning. These are the different status that I was explaining. Here is where I have my change request. Here you can expand, you can search. These are the products that I want to update, and then I can start updating the information. By here, I will be directed to the change request, while by here, I will be directed to editing the products. What I want to show you, and this is one of the latest features that we have released in PUI, is you see this change. We still need to refine because it's not really visible. There is a light green color and then white, etc. So this means that it's my change request. This is something that I have been working on, and it contains my name. This because it might be that within your organization you have many users operating at the same time. Maybe you're splitting the portfolio. User A submits 100, the user B submits the other 200, and so on. So the white ones, it means that it's not me. It's my colleague testing, in this case, the functionality. So when you see a different color, green one, it means it is your activity. Now, I want to open the change. In this case, let's imagine, I'm not going to do it, but if you want to update the name because the same name was given from somebody from you, it's fine. You can do it. You click on save, and then you have edited. In this case, I have selected, for the sake of time, because I don't want to waste your time and I don't want to spend like 10 minutes to load 100 or 200 products to show you the bulk. Imagine we have a bulk. I'm just using 3 products. We have all of these 3 products, and I need to update in bulk all of them. So what I do first is that I click on Edit Product. Here you have a bunch of buttons. I don't know if you're familiar, but basically, change activities is the summary of the activities you are doing now to your change page. While selected product is the list of the products that you have been selecting. So for instance, if you have forgotten a product, by mistake you wanted to remove it, you can still click here and remove the product from the change. In this case, you will see only 2 products. In this case, if you want to see the data, I can just click and I will direct it to the product's view only page. In this way, you cannot add anything because you've been clicking in the eye. The eye means that you can see the data and just make sure, okay, I selected the right product. I don't remember. Okay, he doesn't have manufacturer. Good to go. Here, edit products. I want to start, and here you can see bulk cloning. So first step ever. Choose your product, which is going to be the starting point. In this case, Fluidburn will be my starting point. I click on Edit Products. Let me remove this one because it's read-only. Here you can navigate even. You can see the 3 ones. Maybe you wanted to start from here, but in this case, I selected the right one, so I'm good to go. Manufacturers, as usual, add manufacturer. I hope colleagues are not going too fast for you. Sorry if so. I just want to give also time for questions. You select the manufacturer. Again, you can search whatever. The system is loading. In this case, I will just, for the sake of time, select whatever. Fine, this is mine. If it's not whatever, what you want to submit, you click here and you look for it. In the guide, there are plenty of explanation on how to look faster. Select, because this is my record. Let me see. Okay, this is the address, log ID, org ID. Fine, perfect. Save. I'm saving. By the time I'm saving, the system will process the change that I'm applying to this product only. And in this case, you can use the arrow to move up and down. I have only one, so that's why it doesn't really help. If I made a mistake, I can still delete it. If I wanted to add it, I can still click here and select a new one, or delete and add a new one. It depends which is the best solution for you as a user. Then, as you know, by chapter 2, no manufacturer data can be submitted without an operation. If I do, let me try. Let me test the system. I click on validate. Fantastic. The system will tell me, Veronica, your validation has failed because of the manufacturer needs to have at least an operation record and so on. Here you can see show more or show less. It depends how long is the list of errors, but it gives you an understanding of what is missing. Then unclick on manufacturing operation. Perfect. In this case, remember, I am a data steward, equivalent to level 3 in this case, even though I'm impersonating the chiesi farmaceutici, and I have access to the full list of MBO, so I can see everything. In this case, I want to select batch certification, which is the only operation that a regular user can access or edit if they have the current role. Okay, let me select, and then I select it. By the way, colleagues, in this area, we mentioned that you don't still see the level 1 of the RMS list. At the moment, this is has been fixed internally in terms of the functionality. So it means that the system can read it, but you don't see that, and I still don't see that, because I need to wait the other team, the RMS team, to update the short terms into the RMS list. So that's why you don't see that yet. By the time they do it, it will be automatically shown. This is expected to be done in these days. So I hope we will be able, in a good position, hopefully for the sports updates webinar, to give you this update too. Then I can select, in this case, randomly. To me, it's still running, not an end date. It's a public, automatically is set up as public. But if, for instance, I would choose another one, active, in this case, is set up as confidential. If you want to change it and make it public, in this case, I really don't think it's the case, you can still go here and decide which one to apply. This is up to you, but by logic, we have implemented every role, every term in the manufacturer operation type, except the batch certification confidential. Then I don't have what I can enter a number, it's fine. I do have an effective date in this case, and you see here, if I do save, the system will tell me medicine regulatory agency is required. Yes, because actually I have updated chapter 2, and now if I enter this number, it means that I am obliged to enter the organization because somebody has approved. But let's imagine I don't have it because it's not my case. Fine, system is processing and the validation will be successful. Click on validation, you see the data reflected. Perfect. Okay. Now, pack size. I want to enter the pack size. I don't remember if I entered already. Yeah, because I was playing with the system before this webinar. I entered already the vial. In this case, if you want to add it, let's imagine I delete it. Well, let's redo it. Maybe I can't do it because I already validated that. I don't know why. But anyway, if I made a mistake and it wasn't supposed to be a vial, but it was supposed to be something else, again, you click on edit, you go, you search, this is the unit of presentation EDQM RMS list, so any term is taken from there, and you select. In this case, I cancel because I'm okay with the vial. And then I click on processing. If you want to make sure, you click again on validate. If you don't want, don't worry, you're not obliged to do every time. I'm just doing for the sake of the demo. You can even do at the end, at this level, when you have completed all the changes. Now, another thing that we have enabled now for data submission is the data card identifier. Data card identifier is reported at the package level, and this is total new. You can click here, same way as it worked for the other, same mechanism, but different data that you provide. In this case, let's assume that I have my ID, which might be a national ID, a national trade item number. You select here. In this case, we have already, you can see only these values because these are the values that contains a label in the backend in RMS saying PMS. It means that these are for PMS. If there is any more value that we need to enter, because there was a discussion with our industry SMEs, we will enter, we will add the label, and you will see these showing here. For the moment, these are the ones. So let's imagine national. Okay, save. I just entered one, colleagues. If you have more, you can still do it. This is a repeatable class of elements. Validation is successful. Perfect. I did my product and I am on Fluidro and still have these two. I don't want to waste my time because I have no time whatsoever to do manually again. Change the tail, you go back. And to be honest, I always click on save because I'm just to be on a safe side. Now, you need to clone the information on these two products. What to do, I showed you how to edit. Now, once you did this part for one product, you just move to this one. This is the bulk cloning removal operation. It means that is the way to fast submit and update all the products in one go. In this case, the system will direct you to select operation type. Oh, sorry. Operation type. In this case, you can select either copy or removal. For the moment, I want to copy all the information, but let's imagine you have removed with your variation and manufacturer or a business operation for is applying for many products. You can do the same. You select all the products and you do the other way around, removal. I want to remove for all the products. So in one way or another, it can always make it faster. Area type, sorry, it tells me, it's asking me actually, what do you want to copy? For the moment, I want to copy the manufacturer, let's say. Okay, it says, Veronica, fantastic. You want to copy the manufacturer. Be aware that the manufacturer is available here, and this is what I have. If I would have more than one manufacturer, more than one operation type, I can either select them all or deselect. It depends what's the scope of your change. In this case, to facilitate, this is a new functionality, refinement, improvement that we release, is that by default, you see all ticked to avoid you to click many times. But if you don't want to do it, you just click here. Maybe you have another operation and you click on this one and deselect only this one. So you can play as much as you want. Be aware that if I unclick here at the higher level, I'm unclicking everything. So you avoid doing this and this and this, which is very annoying. So this is what I want to copy. I click on next. I correct. And now the system tells me, Veronica, okay, which are the PMS ID you want to copy? Say, okay, well, I selected them all. It means that I want on them all, but it might not always be the case. So it might be that here you want to clone this operation, but if you have another one, you want to clone this on this product. So in this case, simple scenario, again, unclick, untick, all are the same. But if you go a lower level, you need to do this independent, synchronously. In this case, I want both. Click on next. I said, please click apply to proceed, because once you confirm, this will make all the changes applicable to your products. It takes a bit, of course. It depends by the amount and the volume of data that you are copying. I said, okay, click and please proceed. Process my data. Now, the system will show you, you see here, change activities in this area. Bulk operation in progress, editing is temporary and available. What does it mean? It means that you have applied, you confirm the application of the copy in bulk to whole product. The system, of course, it needs to take a bit of time to apply all the changes. And in the meantime, you cannot edit the product. Why? Because otherwise you overlap the activities in the portal. So once you do it, just take your time, go. And you not go for a coffee, because in this time it was quick. So, but it was on 3 products. And then once the message disappears, it means that you are fine. In this case, let me save it again, just to be on a safe side. I want to validate, because I want to make sure I didn't make any mistake, any error. If I validate, and of course you have many products, the system will tell you, it will block you basically. You saw previously there was this icon, and it's because it's running the validation rules. In this case, I'm ready. Let me see if we can read better. So the product do not have the pack size. Okay, so in this case it's yellow. It means that you can still submit it, because maybe I don't care about the pack size. I will do later, fine. But when you have the red ones, it means that you cannot go farther. In this case, is the most common. We are in UAT again, colleagues, so that's why it's coming, and I cannot proceed, and I cannot show you the end-to-end process. He's telling me, Veronica, there are errors because the product's version is not the latest one. You need to refresh to make sure PUI calls back from API the latest version. Why? Because maybe somebody, you have no control, maybe on who is submitting or updating XMPD, somebody in XMPD may have updated something, and then the version changed. Maybe not in the package description, whatever fields in XMPD, and the version where you have been working on is basically stuck because of the version. So in this case, you click on refresh. Now, I can't, well, I can click it, but the system will tell me, yeah, Veronica, you need to connect all API, UAT, etc. So that's why it won't give me the latest version. But that's the way to call the latest version in PUI from API. Once you receive, you click again on validate. You will see the just the yellow if you didn't update the pack size. And in the case, this will disappear. When it disappears, you can submit and click on finalize. Finalize is the button that tells you, okay, Veronica, you're ready to go, submit it. The system will submit information, will process it, and the change request, which is now under modified, will move to submitted. In this case, I won't move further, but you can see, maybe I can show you, let me see if I can show you whether the products have copied the manufacturer. Yeah, in this case, everything has been copied. So you can see that I can even navigate here, by the way, colleagues. So this is the other one. Let me see if it took the change. Fantastic. Okay. But unfortunately, I don't have the latest version, so it's fine. So once you go here, you continue and you do your work and you click on finalize, and then it will move from, now I'm showing my workspace, from submitted, from modified to submitted, and from submitted to completed. So it moves slowly, with processing time, it moves towards these steps, basically. Now, what I wanted to show you that might be important for you is that this dynamic report, product report, is something where if you have to identify your product impacted by ULCM list, you can find the dynamic report. These are the reports that we are slowly improving and implementing over the time, that shows you, again, dummy data, shows you in different ways the information that you have for data quality, data monitoring, whatever activities you need to do. All ATC code is the report where you can see the ULCM list. Actually, no, you can see the all products with highlighted ATC codes. It means that you can check with the filter applied whether the ATC code is impacting your product or not. In this case, I can see every product from every company, so it doesn't really make sense to reduce the filter. Is the very high level because you have ATC, route of administration. Let me make a bit, maybe it's better. And then full name, every information that can help you to, identify your product better, EV codes, etc. Then we have also manufacturing operation and packaged products. So in case you want to see the same list with the ATC codes, but to understand if you have or somebody from your company has already submitted the manufacturer data, this is the best way to do so, because you do it and then you can filter off based on the need that you have. Same packaged medicinal product. You can still navigate through this dynamic report, and you can have access to information again, organized based on PMS ID, ATC code, filter off if you want. Now it doesn't load. Let's see if it takes a second or not, but it gives you the information on the, yes, thank you, at package level. So procedure type, authorization, status, holder. In this case, I see everything again, fine. Package UV code. Okay, here didn't match emerge. Let me see what's going on. Pack description, pack size as taken. Fantastic. Okay, which other product I need to enrich? For the moment, nothing. I have all products with the pack size. But by the way, this might pick up. Yes, it's coming from Cyamet. Then we have also the ESMP details. And this is another dynamic report where we can basically see information that might be useful for the ESMP shortage reporting. Again, you have PMS, full name, product procedure type, active, strength. So it's basically reproducing what we have already in the Excel file. ATC code, administration, pack size, manufacturer, etc. So you can identify, without considering packages separately from a manufacturer, the product that still requires the submission based indeed of this element. And you also have the ATC code. So if I would be you, I would just go here and I select the ATC code and say, okay, for the manufacturer it's not here, the pack size is not here. Okay, I know already what to do. So I'll stop here, colleagues. This is the presentation of the demo. Then I will pass the floor now to Marcus because he has now another section on the data quality, which is also very important. And then we will move to next step and Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica. So, in fact, you made some of the presentation that I wanted to do on the reports, but as we are also a bit late, I will just, I will just skip this part. But I will still, I want to share some, because I've been reading some of the questions that we have in a Slido. And there are a couple of questions on the BI report. So Veronica already explained how you can go through the different reports, how you can view the data. I will just make sure that there is a question on the union list of critical medicines and where you can find the products. So on this report that you have here in the all ATC codes, there is a specific filter. Maybe I will make this a bit bigger. You have this filter here called critical medicines that you can say yes or no. This filter is based on the ATC codes that are considered critical. So they will make a filter on your list of products that contain the ATC codes that are considered critical, and then you can use this report to, okay, for my company, this is the list of products that I should prioritize on the enrichment because they are considered critical based on the SMP, based on the ATC code. Some of you have said, oh, now I cannot export these reports. The thing is, you've seen that we have changed a bit the user interface. If you scroll all the way to the right, you will see the three dots that you usually, that you were supposed to see, where you can now export the data, and you will be able to see the reports, the Excel that you usually export. We have it here. So it will export the data in an Excel format, and then you can do you can just have a report, you can do calculation, you can combine this report with other reports, etc. So this is the way. You need to scroll a bit to the right to be able to see these three dots that at the beginning were here. It's just because we have more data on the reports. Also, this ESMP details report for the moment is called like this, but we will change the title of the report. This was a requirement from the SMEs because this, and I'm sorry, I think I cannot share because it's U8 environment, but maybe there is some data manufacturers. This report there will show you will help you for the shortage monitoring and the reporting of shortages. They have information about the PMS IDs, the route of administration, the ATC codes as well. You have manufacturers, you have the indication. So it's a report that will help you to, you have to create and fill some templates on whenever you need to provide information for the shortage monitoring. So this is the purpose of this ESMP details report. And then for the rest, as Veronica already presented, you have the packages, the ingredients, etc. Apart from the BI reports that you have here, and again, if we have ever the question if we are going to have a specific report for all the data in PMS, the answer is no. It's mainly because the data model in PMS is, there are a lot of relationships. So we have the medicinal product, then you have the packages, then we have the ingredients linked to different packages or different pharmaceutical products. So it is almost impossible to create an Excel where you can have all these relationships of all the data. So what we are doing is creating different reports that then you can use to validate and compare the data with other systems. We already explained in other webinars how you can export the data, how you can make a comparison with XMPD, or with your databases. So I would recommend you to go back to these webinars. But yeah, the idea is that we have different reports for different parts of the data model of PMS where you can export and use this information. Apart from that, I wanted to, so just in summary, the BI reports can be accessible based also on the user roles and products of your organization. So if you get access to a specific org ID, you will have the BI reports for those products. We have a public report with a full list of valid products, but you cannot extract it yet. You cannot extract it yet, and we are working on this functionality. Maybe I can show this one. So if you go to sport and medicinal products, here you have a list of all the products that are valid in PMS. It's a huge list of products. These are all the valid products with a lot of information, but it cannot be exported. We are working on this functionality. You can also scroll down to the packages and also to the product composition. Here we only have the active substance because it's the only public information. And there is no plan to create this report with the complete product data. How can you use these reports? Well, for multiple purposes. As we said, for reporting, you can export the data and you can create reports of how many products do I have authorized, how many of them are NAPs, how many are CAPs. You can use it to analyze and compare data. You can compare data from different sources like XMPD or your database, and also to support other reporting activities. As I said, this report for ESMP, you can use it to report information on shortage mitigation and prevention plans. And that was a requirement that we had from the SMEs. Apart from the BI reports, I wanted to, because there are also a couple of questions on the known issues. So we know that we have some issues. We are working on them. We are updating the Q&A document. We are updating chapter 3 also. We just needed a bit more time for the planning and make sure that we can give you an accurate estimate. But here you have, let's say, the main known issues that we have. The first one is for the transfer, some of the transfer products. So if the transfer of marketing authorization have not been done EV code to EV code, that means that you had one EV code in XMPD for one package and you have done the transfer for this one, then you have created additional EV code. So you had one EV code for multiple packages in XMPD, and the new MA holder has created multiple EV codes for the multiple pack sizes, then you will only see one package. We are planning to resolve this issue by this quarter. But yeah, it's an issue on the transfer products, and your products might be affected. Then for the units of measurement and presentation on the active substance is missing in some products. So it means that if you go to the pharmaceutical product and you look for the active substance, you will see like instead of 10 milligrams in one tablet, you will only see 10 in one. So the milligrams in the tablets are missing. The main bug that was causing this issue is already fixed, and we are trying to see when can we do a data fix to solve the issue. Nevertheless, the normal updates to XMPD will also fix those problems. So if a product is affected and for some reason it is updated in XMPD, this issue will be solved in PMS. We also have some duplicated products and packages. We are working to fix the source of the bug in this quarter, and then we are trying to see if there will be need for a data fix or not. But then we need to plan and see, we need to perform the analysis and see how it's done, but we are working on the source of the bug this quarter. And then we also have merged EV codes that should belong to different medicinal products. And here we have different cases. So there are some EV codes with the same data in all the grouping fields, so the same name, same active substance, same strength, same country, etc. But they actually belong to different products. They are what we call real duplicates. And sometimes it's because one is a DCP and the other one is a national procedure. So we are working to identify the business rules to apply to these products. And we are working with the SMEs and with the network product owner to gather all the country-specific scenarios to implement the business rules. So we know, for example, in Germany, you might have this issue, so we need to identify, okay, what is the value that we need to take into account to make sure that we split the products and we don't merge the EV codes when they really need to be in different medicinal products. And we are working on this, we are waiting for some information, and then we need to implement the change. How can you be informed of these known issues? So in the there is a Q&A document. I will navigate now so you can see what it is. It is really important that you go to this Q&A document and check which are the known issues, if it was solved or if it will be solved. And it's also important for you not to open tickets for problems with known issues, because we will close those tickets saying that, yeah, it's a known issue, we cannot do anything for the moment, we are working on that, and we will close the ticket. So it will help us a lot to trigger, to reduce the amount of tickets if you don't open tickets for known issues. I will maybe navigate. So if you go to the main page, here you have the PMS guidance, and then from here, you will be able to go to the, no, sorry, because this is, let me do it in production so you can actually see it. So if you go to the PMS guidance, you have here the Q&A document, and here you have this document with a lot of questions, a lot of answers, and then there is this list that I'm updating now, and we will provide an update maybe this week or next week, where you have the issue, the description, when it was, for example, these were resolved already, and which are the actions for the marketing authorization holder. So some of those that were planned for Q3 will be already fixed, and then there will be here an action for marketing authorization holders. And for the rest, you will see, okay, when are we expecting? Like, there are some of them expected for next year, some of them are not really prioritized because the impact is not that big. So I really recommend you to navigate through this guidance, not only to this table, but also like to all the questions regarding the enrichments, how the data is flowing, products in Norway for caps, things like that. So it's a very useful document that you can have a look. And with this is just a bit of information on the next step. So Wednesday, we have the SPOR and XMPD status update. I would recommend you to go to this webinar. You will be able to ask questions to all the SPOR products and also to XMPD. Sorry, On the 16th of October, we have the webinar for the PMS API, the Right PMS API. So very useful as well for those that are planning to connect to the Right PMS API. And then, as always, we have our Q&A clinics for SO and R and for PMS and also for XCMPD. You have all the dates here. You have the also the pages. We've seen that it's been quite successful the other sessions, so we are keeping this throughout this year. And with that, then also how to stay informed. So you have the news page, the newsletter of PLM that is really interesting, and we provide a lot of information. You have all the webinars and the FAQ documents, the system demos, and as always, the PMS webpage. So you will have all the links. This will be published soon, so you can have access to this information. And the QR code also and the link for the PLM newsletter, as I said, very interesting. And I think with that, we can move to the Q&A document. I think someone is going to share the slide. I've been replying to most of the questions while Veronica was replying, but representing, sorry. But I guess there will be a lot of questions still to be replied. So yeah, over to, I don't know who's going to present now the Slido. So we have this question on, in cases of the variations tab 1A in mediate the implementation of manufacturer, when do we count these 30 days for the implementation of the deadlines? So for a type 1A immediate variation, the implementation of the manufacturer, from which date the deadline of 30 days is counted. As in DCP procedure, some concerned member states publish the national approval and some refer to the end of procedures of the RMS. So I have replied to this question. For type 1A variations, these are do until variations, and some NCAs are not providing the approval. They just, if they don't say anything, they consider this as approved. So in those specific cases, when the end of procedure from the RMS is achieved, then this is the date when you have you can start counting the 30 days, because otherwise you might not have the approval of the NCA, the concerned member states, and then you still need to update this information in PMS and in XCMPD. So that would be the answer to this question. Then the MBO selection does not allow some of the higher level terms, which stops us from starting the critical medicines enrichment in PMS. When will the UI allow the selection of all the MBOs? I can also reply to this. We are waiting for RMS to perform a change on the list. Previously, I said we had a dependency on EAF. This dependency has been implemented, and now this week, RMS has to perform the change. As soon as it's done, you will see it in the product UI. So most likely this week, you will have the high-level terms in the product UI. We will also update Chapter 3, so all the information will be there. And yeah, hopefully you will be able to start using these high-level terms this week. But we will also announce it with the delivery of Chapter 3 and everything. So you have mentioned in a recent webinar that we should not update records using the product UI and the API in parallel. Many companies actually plan to do this. Can you elaborate on this? Yes. So during the system demo, I said that companies should avoid updating the same product using the product UI and the API at the same time. We know that this could be a very rare case where the same product is updated at the same time by two different sources, so the UI and the API. We are putting in place some data conflict management, so we avoid those possible issues that might happen. But that's the idea. The same product should not be updated at the same time through the UI and through the API to avoid data conflicts. If it's done in different moments, once we know that the message from the API was processed, or once we know the one for the UI was processed, then it's totally fine. There shouldn't be any issue. But the recommendation is either the API or the UI for specific products. If you want, I saw also another question, if you want to use half of the portfolio through the UI and the other half through the API, that is also possible for the moment, because in XMPD, you know that users can only do either UI or either the gateway. We might implement something like this in the future, but for the moment, you have the possibility. So I hope it is clear now. But yeah, it's a recommendation to avoid these data conflicts. So the next question is regarding what you can see on the selection. So if you have, for example, the MBO value that is QC testing the active substance, chemical and physical, and also for the medicinal product, the value that you can see in the UI and in the report is chemical physical. So it's very difficult to verify which is the correct one. That is correct. This is because we are using the short name in the reports. So this is something that we might need to change to make sure that you are able to review the data, that instead of using the short name from the term name from the RMS list, we use the short name, which contains all the information. So this is something that we need to take into account, because it's it's a bit of a blocker to review the data in the reports. In the UI, whenever you are going to select the activity, then there you will see the short name, so the full name, and you will see QC testing active substance, blah blah blah. That will help you to select it. But then for review, we need to have a look at this part. So we will take this into account. Then it is mandatory or necessary to enrich all the data for all authorized medicinal product, or it is sufficient to do so only for marketed products? Sorry. So I was replying to this question and then I had to present. So the first priority are the products that are linked to the union list of critical medicines. And not only the marketed ones, but the authorized ones. So that means that you might have an authorized product that is not in the market, but you still need to enrich it. So these are the first priority, products that are valid and are under the union list of critical medicines. Then the second priority is the rest of the portfolio. And Veronica already presented the deadlines and you can review the deadlines in the presentation. There is a deadline for the union list of critical medicines, and there is another deadline for the rest of the portfolio. So I hope I have also replied to this question. Then what is the maximum number of products that can be updated in a single change? So for the moment is 50. 50, which is a big number, but we are working this quarter to remove this limitation that we have in the system right now. And then you will be able to update more products. But for the moment, it's 50 products.
Marcos, if I can complement. So yeah, it's 50, but the 50 is the number of the number of product that you can see in the pages, the drop down menu that I showed you before. You can select more if you want. The difference is that you won't have the visibility within the change pages. So yeah, that's why it's 50.
Thank you, Veronica. So the next question is, are strength presentation concentration of excipients available in SMPC and in Module 3 is mandatory to be submitted for IDMP, or is it only mandatory for data in SMPC? Could the data only in M3 and not in SMPC be skipped for submission? So for the moment, you cannot submit to PMS directly. You need to use XCBMPD. And in XCBMPD, we have already said that we accept either the composition as in the SMPC or as in Module 3. You cannot mix, it's either one or the other for a specific product. So you cannot say, oh yeah, this excipient from the SMPC and this other excipient from module 3, and then the active substance also for module 3. No, it's one document or one source or the other. So whatever you are submitting to XCMPD will be propagated to PMS, as we explained at the beginning of the webinar. So yeah, it's up to you. In the future, whenever PMS is the only source and XCMPD is the commissioned, I would say we will still accept both sources, the SMPC and Module 3. I can't really guarantee, but I would say that would be the approach. We should also go from harmonization and have the same information, but we know that sometimes that is not possible. So you can use one or the other as you prefer. There is the option to do both. Okay, one in Module 3, for example, the Module 3 has the composition of the OPA dry ink, and its granular components are mentioned as strength presentation in percentage. Should the percentage be calculated per capsule, or a strength presentation be left blank?
Maybe I can take it. So if you have OPA dry is usually the excipient. So in this case, if you don't have this expressed clearly in the documentation as authorized, it's always recommended to leave it blank. Do not make calculations, because calculations are definitely discouraged in PMS to be applied. So this is the answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so if I had a DCP or an MRP and I had to do the enrichment of MBOs, would I be able to clone all the manufacturers but be able to change the manufacturing start date? Yeah, that is a possibility. So you can clone all the manufacturers and all the data, related to this MBO, and then you can go to the specific product for a specific country, and you can change the dates, for example. That is a possibility. The bulk update, what it's doing is like, you don't need to enter all the manufacturers and all the common data again. You just go and replicate the same changes, and then you just go and perform updates on the specific products if needed. Okay, could you outline the key dimensions used to assess the quality of PMS data? Also, could you share when Chapter 4 on data quality assurance is expected to be published? So maybe Veronica, you can also provide some information, and I can maybe also.
Actually, this is something that we will announce in the sport task force, but the sport update. Chapter 4 is expected in this quarter, so by the end of this year will be released. It will be an initial draft, so the first version, and then a few versions will be released over 2026 based on the possibility that we are trying to allocate in creating more dashboard and report for indeed the data quality scope and even data monitoring.
Okay, thank you, Veronica. So when do you plan to decommission XCBMPD submissions? From the timeline, it looks like Q3/4 2026. Is that correct? No, it's not correct. So I think from the timelines that we show, it says beyond 2026. So it doesn't mean 2026. It means we don't know, but after 2026. So right now we are discussing the strategy to decommission XCMPD. It is not easy because we have a lot of systems consuming from XCMPD, the pharmacovigilance fees, ICSRs, PSUR. So there are a lot of systems consuming from XCMPD. So we need to define a strategy. We need to plan for it. It takes a lot of time. And for the moment, to be honest, we don't know when are we going to decommission XCMPD. but it seems that it's not gonna be Q3, Q4 2026. It might take some more time. But again, we don't know. Maybe management come tomorrow and say, "Oh, it's now a priority, and we need to do it in the next 4 months," which is not 4 months because we need to give more time. But we will let you know whenever we have more information. For the moment, we don't know exact dates on when this is going to happen. Okay, how should industry handle EMA's recommendation to use PLM EAFs for Article 57, EU medicines for all products, given these are not centrally authorized, not required in XMPD, and yet some appears in SIAMED as valid caps, despite non-EU MA being granted? So I think that's a question for EAF, first of all, because it says PLM EAFs at the beginning and we are the UI and PMS. But I can maybe give some information. So these products are captured in SIAMED because I think it's somehow a procedure managed by EMA. So that's why if they are in SIAMED, they go to PMS. The same way, all the products that are in XMPD, even those authorized in Japan or Canada, they go to PMS because they were in XMPD and we are not blocking those products. These products can be submitted to XMPD as well. They are you can do it through it's an optional submission. So if you want, you can submit them. But then you don't. I think you don't need to really do anything with those products if you don't want to maintain them. Okay, they are their optional submission, and then if you need to use them in the EAF, then that is fine. They are there, but I would recommend you to really ask the EAF team instead of us because we don't have a lot of information. We are just providing the data that we have. So my recommendation would be to ask the EAF team. Can you share any updates about the OMS PMS integration? Our org data still shows the wrong information in PMS UI. So first of all, it's not a OMS PMS integration. It's more an OMS iris integration. So in PMS, you submit the loc ID, and that is what you submit, an ID. Then iris is taking this ID and put in the information that we have in OMS for that specific ID. I don't know what is your specific case, if it's that the old name is still shown or if that there was a merge and we are using the old ID. There are different scenarios where this integration is not working. We have provided all the requirements internally. Iris has provided the requirements. Inspections has provided the requirements on this integration. And now there will be a team to work on the implementation on this integration. We don't know when this will be solved. So what we are doing is taking case by case and performing the fix manually. It takes some time because we need to analyze a lot of things. So if you have opened a ticket at some point, we will get into the ticket and we will analyze it and perform the changes if needed. And that's the only update we can provide, that we are working on it, but it takes time because it's complex and the cases we are managing one by one with the tickets that we are receiving. Why do we have to enter manufacturing authorization reference number effective date for each manufacturing operation rather than doing it at the manufacturer level? That's a good question, and I don't have the answer right now. So I don't know, Veronica, if you know. Otherwise, we might need to come back to this question.
We can cross-check, but the logic data model means that implies that when you are authorized, so you have an authorization for that operation, usually the information are at that level. So you may have a manufacturer that can be authorized with different operations, and therefore you have different effective dates or different number being assigned. We can cross-check anyway with the inspections team, but we never received any objection to the data model we approved so far.
Okay, thank you. Then when the MA holders don't QC their product data in PMS upon EMA data migration from XCMPD, high XCMPD quality, which risks does EMA foresee on ESMP, EAF, and other regulatory procedures? So, first of all, it's important to make sure that all the products have been migrated from XCMPD to PMS, at least all the valid ones, because as soon as we decommission XCMPD, if those products are not in PMS, it will be a big problem if you want to create, for example, variation forms for these products. Because if they are not in PMS, you might need to create them from scratch, and you will need to provide all the information, etc. So there is a risk on that. Also, in some countries, for the EAF, you need to have all the packages. So if the authorization is granted at package level, like for example in Italy, I think Portugal as well, you need to have all the packages in PMS so they appear in the EAF. Because if you have a variation for a specific package, then if it's not there, you might not be able to use the web-based EAF, and you will need to come back to the PDF, etc. For ESMP, it's something similar. In this case, for example, we need to make sure that we have the correct ingredients and the correct strengths, because this is the information that ESMP is using for their reports. Same, for example, for manufacturers for caps. At some point, EAF will open the structure changes, which means that you will be able to say, this is my new manufacturer, and you will not need to type. It will be all structured data from RMS and OMS. So if the wrong manufacturers are in PMS, then your variation might be blocked. So it's a bit of, if the data is not correct in PMS, at some point it will be blocking your variations, for example, because you will not be able to create the web-based EAF. Same, for example, for PSURs. So PSURs are already consuming data from PMS in Iris. So if the EV codes are not correctly migrated, then the system will not be able to find the product, and then the PSURs might be blocked. So it's a bit of, important that you check the data, or at least that you have the products and the packages correctly. We know that we have some bugs on the transfer, for example, and luckily we still have the PDF variation form if you need it, etc. But at some point it will be, all these legacy systems will be blocked. So we really recommend you to go and check the data quality. Is MBO information mentioned in 32P31 and along with GMP certificate also? I'm sorry, but I don't understand the question.
If I understand, they are asking whether the operation authorized is reported in a part of the dossier. So if you open chapter 2, we state in section 2 indeed that the information for the manufacturing activity for the finished products are reported in 32P31 for the finished products. For the active substance are in 32S21, sorry. So you can find information there. Of course, it depends which kind of authorization, whether it's in Europe or not. You may have a bunch of information and certification released. So it really depends by your products and the situation. But yeah, for the finished product, you can find there in the part of the dossier.
Okay, thank you. In the meantime, and as I see we still have 4 minutes, I see that our colleagues have launched the survey. So please go. We are replying to your questions. We are now asking you to go and fill the survey. It is very important for us. We take very seriously the results, and we try to improve based on the comments that you provide. So it would be really helpful if you can go to the survey and provide your feedback. And in the meantime, I think we still have 3 minutes. If we can come back to the questions, I think I can go here. We can still reply to some more questions. So, how to match most effectively dossier manufacturers and PMS terms and roles? Well, I think that's a good question, and it depends on the company and how they have the data. Um, it really depends. If you have a database with the products and the manufacturers and the business operations, the best idea is to try to match also to the RMS terms and then start putting information in the product UI or wait if you have a RIM systems. If you don't have the information in a structured way, you need to navigate through the dossiers, etc. Then first of all, good luck. And yeah, I think you just need time to go through the dossiers, maybe through the ECTD sequences, go to the latest ones where you will have the most updated module 3, and just go to the section where you have all the manufacturers and start creating somehow a bit of an Excel somehow where you can say, okay, this is my product, these are my manufacturers and the MBOs, and then you can use this to populate the data in PMS. So it really depends on the company and how you have the data, I would say. A good thing is that once you have the data in PMS, then you can use the reports to extract this information in Excel, and you can maintain the data also there if needed, or you can use PMS to also maintain the data. So, you need to do the work once, but then you will maintain this data in PMS. Why is operation type remove used? In case some data is deleted in the product and the copy operation type is used, wouldn't the target product also be updated, so removed accordingly? Veronica, or I can also reply. So I can reply. The thing is, for the operation remove, we really made it like a different option. So in case you are removing some of the product, some of the manufacturers or the business operations because they were included by mistake, we want to make sure that you really replicate this removal. One thing is remove because it was included by mistake, and then you need to remove the manufacturer or the business operation. If you discontinue the activity, then you need to include an end date. That is very important. It's explained in all the user guidance because there's a difference between removing something, it was included by mistake, and updating the end date is because it's you stopped or you remove this you withdraw this activity with the manufacturer. I think we still have a couple of questions, but we will try to include them in the Q&A document as well. And yeah, thank you very much for attending this webinar, and see you on Wednesday or in the next webinars that we will have. So thank you very much and have a nice week.